Hello guys, I was doing my research as I normally do, and I came across this article which said that drinking milk helps prevent bowel cancer. How many times do we talk about drinking milk and how it prevents bowel cancer? Not very often. However, this article looked at this prospective study of more than a half million women in the UK over the last 17 years, and based on the research, they showed that calcium intake had the greatest protective effect against bowel cancer. So just by taking an additional 300 milligrams of dietary calcium a day, which is equivalent to a large glass of milk, there's a 17% reduction in the relative risk of bowel cancer. This is like, wow. Again, there are six dairy related factors which are associated with calcium, which also showed a reduced risk of developing bowel cancer. Now, the greatest risk factors of bowel cancer was seen with drinking alcohol, as well as eating red and processed meat. Watch my video on the link between red and processed meat and bowel cancer. So the study authors concluded that dairy products help protect against bowel cancer and that this effect is largely or wholly due to calcium consumption. Wow, this is good stuff. I'm encouraged now, guys. I need to seriously increase my intake of drinking milk. I mean, I do drink milk, but I don't drink it like every single day. I eat eggs almost every single day. So but I do eat yogurt once in a while, but it means that I do now need to increase my intake of yogurt. I need to drink more milk because having more intake of calcium in my body helps to prevent bowel cancer. Now, I said, let me look at the Cancer Research UK website because the Research UK website is a reputable website. So, Cancer Research UK has a good article on milk, dairy, and cancer risk. It says eating and drinking milk and other dairy products can help reduce your risk of bowel cancer. Some people worry that dairy increases the risk of cancer, but there is no strong evidence for this. Dairy products and dairy alternatives can be part of a healthy, balanced diet. So it looks at dairy products as made from cow's milk or milk from other animals such as goat or sheep, and this includes milk, cheese, yogurts, butter, and creams. Dairy alternatives include soy, oat, almond, and coconut milk. They contain protein and important vitamins. Also says that yes, eating and drinking dairy products can lower your risk of bowel cancer. There is good evidence from many large studies that dairy products lower your bowel cancer risk. The high amount of calcium in dairy could be one way it lowers the risk of bowel cancer. So research is continuing to look at this. So again, if you look at the British Dietetic Association, it tells you that you should aim for 3 portions of dairy products a day. So it gives some examples that 1 portion of dairy could be a glass of semi-skimmed milk, which is about 200 mils a day. It tells you that you should also have 150 gram of pot of plain low-fat yogurt, and also a matchbox sized piece of cheese, which is about 30 grams. However, it lets you know that some dairy products can also be high in fat and sugar. So if you're diabetic or if you're someone that's trying to lose weight, you should be cautious about what type of dairy products that you do consume. But it gives some recommendations of lower sugar examples such as semi-skimmed or skimmed milk, reduced fat cheese, lower fat spreads, and plain low fat yogurt. So it also says here that not everyone can eat dairy. So some people have like allergy to dairy products or intolerance to dairy products. So that's when you consider the dairy alternatives, but just make sure that they also contain calcium. So again, as I mentioned earlier, your goat, sheep, and even plant products can contain calcium too. Now, there has been the rumors that maybe dairy products can cause cancer. So it says here there is good evidence that dairy reduces the risk of bowel cancer, but there is no strong evidence that dairy increases cancer risk. Because I remember back then they used to talk about don't drink milk, or even animal milk that contains animal fats, that this can increase cancer risk or even increase bowel cancer risk. But research has shown that there's no evidence that drinking animal fats can increase bowel cancer risk. Usually, some people will tell you that I don't drink, cow's milk. I only drink, plant-based milk. There's no evidence that drinking cow's milk would cause bowel cancer risk. In fact, it tells you that drinking cow's milk, which is high in calcium, can reduce your risk of bowel cancer. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Please feel free to share, like, and subscribe.